What if the moment that should mark the beginning of your happily ever after became your final chapter instead? October 12, 2023. A quiet neighborhood in Maplewood Ridge. A father of 7 had just proposed to the woman who brought joy back into his life after years of heartbreak. Hours later, he lay dead in his own driveway, his blood staining the concrete as his teenage son desperately tried to save him. This isn't just another story of murder. This is the story of Ethan Hargrove, architect, father, and a man who believed in second chances, a man whose life was meticulously built, brick by brick, only to be destroyed in seconds by 4 bullets from someone he once loved. The neighborhood security cameras captured it all. The garage door opening, Ethan stepping out, a figure emerging from the shadows, the muzzle flash, and then, the most chilling part. The killer, calmly sitting on the front steps, waiting for police, the murder weapon placed neatly beside her. Have you ever wondered how someone could transform from a loving partner into a cold-blooded killer? How the same hands that once held yours in affection could pull a trigger without hesitation? How many warning signs were missed along the way? Tonight's story isn't just about a murder. It's about recognizing the red flags before it's too late. It's about understanding that sometimes the most dangerous person in your life might be someone who once claimed to love you. If you want to understand the warning signs that could save your life or someone you love, hit subscribe and the notification bell right now on True Crime Hunter. This might be the most important video you'll ever watch. At 45, Ethan Hargrove was known throughout Maplewood Ridge as the Dad of 7, a title he carried with more pride than the name on his architectural firm's door. His colleagues often joked that he designed his life the same way he designed award-winning buildings, with meticulous attention to detail, unwavering structural integrity, and an eye for beauty amid complexity. Ethan had this impossible schedule, his business partner Anthony Morales told investigators. He'd review blueprints at 3 a.m. after making 7 school lunches and checking 20 math problems. The man operated on pure determination and about 4 hours of sleep. This wasn't always Ethan's life. His journey to becoming father of 7 began with 4 children from his marriage to college sweetheart Rebecca, Liam, Audrey, Gabriel, and Penelope. Their life together was carefully constructed, with each milestone precisely planned. Until it wasn't. When Rebecca died suddenly from an aneurysm 6 years ago, the foundation of Ethan's world cracked. But architects know that even damaged structures can be reinforced and rebuilt. He never missed a beat, Rebecca's mother explained through tears. The night after the funeral, I found him sitting on the floor surrounded by parenting books, making lists of how to help each child through grief based on their age and personality. That was Ethan. He wouldn't let his family collapse, even when he was breaking inside. While his buildings won design awards, Ethan's true masterpiece was the life he constructed for his children. He color-coded calendars, created systems for homework, and somehow managed to be present at every important moment in his children's lives. What would you do if you had to rebuild your entire life while raising 4 grieving children? How would you find the strength to move forward when your blueprint for the future suddenly vanished? For Ethan, the answer came in the form of structure. Routines that provided stability. Morning pancakes every Sunday. Individual dad dates with each child monthly. A promise to keep their mother's memory alive through annual traditions she had loved. This was the man who walked into a parent-teacher conference 2 years after his divorce, about to meet a kindergarten teacher who would change everything, just not in the way anyone expected. 2 years after his divorce, Ethan met Diana Lindstrom at a charity fundraiser for the local children's hospital. She stood out immediately, confident, articulate, and passionate about her work as a pharmaceutical sales representative. Like Ethan, she was raising children alone, Mason, Violet, and Theodore. The connection was immediate, recalled Gregory Patel, Ethan's friend who witnessed their first meeting. Diana laughed at his jokes, asked about his children, and seemed genuinely interested in his work. After years of watching him struggle alone, we were all thrilled. Their courtship moved at lightning speed. Coffee dates turned into family outings. Weekend visits evolved into overnight stays. Within 4 months, Diana had met Ethan's entire family circle. By month 5, they were discussing marriage. "It seemed fast to us," Ethan's sister Corinne later admitted. "But Diana was so attentive, so invested in Ethan and the kids. She called and texted constantly, brought gifts every time she visited, and always wanted to know where Ethan was and who he was with. We mistook her intensity for deep commitment." 6 months after their first meeting, Ethan and Diana married in a small ceremony, instantly creating a blended family of 9. The transition happened so quickly that friends noted Ethan barely had time to process the change before Diana moved herself and her 3 children into his home. What nobody recognized then were the warning signs hidden within Diana's apparent devotion. Her constant calls weren't checking in, they were checking up. Her surprise visits to his office weren't romantic gestures, they were monitoring missions. Her lavish attention to his children wasn't generosity, it was calculated manipulation. Have you ever mistaken possessiveness for love? The line between devotion and obsession is often invisible until it's crossed. How many times do we interpret someone's need to control us as proof they care too much rather than too little? For Ethan Hargrove, this distinction would ultimately cost him his life. The honeymoon phase lasted exactly 3 weeks. By month 2 of marriage, Diana's loving attention transformed into something more restrictive. The change was subtle at first. Suggestions about Ethan's clothing choices, comments about his late work hours, gentle criticism of his parenting style. Diana would say things like, "A good father would be home by 6 every night," or, "Don't you think the children need more structure?" recalled Thomas Wilson, Ethan's colleague. She positioned herself as the authority on what his family needed, despite being the newest member of it. Within 6 months, Diana's control extended to every aspect of Ethan's life. She monitored his phone calls, demanded access to his email, and questioned female clients who contacted him about projects. Professional dinners required her presence. Friendships that predated their relationship mysteriously dissolved under her constant scrutiny. Most disturbing was Diana's systematic attempt to erase Rebecca's memory from the home. Family photos disappeared. Keepsakes vanished. When 15-year-old Audrey asked about a missing quilt her mother had made, Diana claimed it was too old and had been donated. Diana wanted to erase Rebecca completely. Ethan's sister Corinne later testified. She threw away childhood artwork with Rebecca's notes on them. She redecorated rooms without consulting anyone. When Ethan confronted her, she'd collapse in tears, claiming he didn't love her enough to let go of the past. For the children, especially Ethan's 4 from his first marriage, home became a psychological minefield. Diana criticized their mannerisms that resembled their mother. She imposed new rules without Ethan's input. When they resisted, she isolated them from their father, claiming they were manipulative and turning him against her. Control is not love. It's the first step toward violence. Emotional abuse rarely stays emotional forever. It escalates, intensifies, and eventually can transform into physical harm. The progression follows a predictable pattern that relationship experts have documented for decades, yet we continue to miss the early warning signs until it's too late. If you recognize these warning signs in your own relationship or someone you know, give this video a thumbs up so others can learn these crucial red flags. Your simple action might help someone identify the danger before it turns deadly. For Ethan Hargrove, the realization came too late. 18 months into their marriage, Ethan made the hardest decision of his life. After consulting with a therapist and family attorney, he filed for divorce, citing emotional abuse and an increasingly hostile home environment detrimental to the children's well-being. The 47-page filing documented months of controlling behavior, including text messages Diana sent to Ethan, sometimes hundreds per day, recordings of verbal attacks on the children, and testimony from teachers concerned about behavioral changes in the younger kids. Mr. Hargrove expressed fear that fully separating from Ms. Lindstrom would trigger worse behavior, noted family court evaluator Dr. Regina Mendez. However, he felt compelled to act after his oldest child, Liam, told him, "Dad, we're all walking on eggshells. This isn't a home anymore." When served with divorce papers, Diana's reaction confirmed Ethan's worst fears. She barricaded herself and all 7 children in the master bedroom for 6 hours, calling Ethan repeatedly and threatening self-harm. Police negotiators eventually talked her into opening the door. None of the children were physically harmed, but the psychological impact was profound. The custody battle that followed revealed Diana's instability. She missed court-ordered psychological evaluations, sent threatening emails to Ethan's attorney, and violated temporary custody arrangements repeatedly. The judge awarded Ethan primary custody of all 7 children, including Diana's 3 biological children, with Diana granted supervised visitation pending completion of anger management classes. The court finds Ms. Lindstrom's behavior indicates concerning instability, wrote Judge Amelia Thornton in her custody ruling. Her actions suggest she views the children as extensions of herself rather than individuals with distinct needs. What would you risk to protect your children from a toxic environment? How do you weigh the dangers of staying against the potential backlash of leaving? For Ethan Hargrove, the safety of 7 children outweighed his personal safety, a calculation that would prove tragically accurate. 1 year after his divorce, Ethan sat in a tiny chair outside room 112 at Maplewood Elementary, waiting for 8-year-old Theodore's parent-teacher conference. He was reviewing custody paperwork when a voice asked, "Mr. Hargrove, I'm Ms. Winters. We can start whenever you're ready." Natalie Winters had been Theodore's kindergarten teacher for just 3 months. With warm brown eyes and a calm demeanor, she discussed Theodore's progress with genuine interest in the boy's well-being. The meeting, scheduled for 15 minutes, stretched to 45 as they talked about helping Theodore adjust to the post-divorce family dynamics. "I remember thinking how different she was," Ethan later told his brother. "She listened more than she spoke. She asked questions instead of making demands. She saw Theodore as his own person, not an extension of me or Diana." Their relationship developed gradually. Coffee after school events became occasional dinners. Natalie never pushed for more than Ethan was ready to give. When finally introduced to the children 4 months later, she approached each relationship individually. For Liam, she became a college application guide. For Audrey, a sympathetic ear about teenage drama. For Gabriel, a fellow Harry Potter enthusiast. For the younger children, including Diana's biological kids, she was simply a consistent, gentle presence who remembered their interests and celebrated their achievements. "Miss Natalie makes Daddy laugh again," 10-year-old Violet told her school counselor. "She doesn't yell like Mommy does." Slowly, laughter returned to the Hargrove home. Movie nights became weekly traditions. School performances had someone in the audience who cheered just as loudly as Dad. Family dinner conversations lasted longer, punctuated by inside jokes and plans for the future. For the first time since Rebecca's death, the Hargrove family began to heal. News of Ethan's relationship with Natalie reached Diana through the children. Within hours, her behavior transformed from difficult to dangerous. The court-mandated co-parenting app showed a flood of messages, 274 in a single day, alternating between pleading reconciliation and explicit threats. "You won't replace me with some kindergarten teacher," read one message recovered by police. "Those are my children too, all of them." Diana began showing up unexpectedly at Ethan's architectural firm, causing scenes that forced him to escort clients through back exits. She appeared at school functions when it wasn't her visitation time, confronting Natalie in front of students and parents. Anonymous complaints were filed against Natalie with the school district, all traced back to Diana's IP address. She created fake social media profiles to monitor them, Detective Michael Okoye explained. She sent herself flowers and signed the cards from Ethan, then posted about their reconciliation. When that didn't work, she escalated to direct confrontation. The breaking point came 3 months before the murder. During her weekend visitation, Diana refused to return the children Sunday evening. When Ethan arrived to pick them up, Diana locked the doors and told the children, "Daddy and his girlfriend are trying to steal you forever." After 6 hours, police intervened. Officers documented that Diana appeared agitated and incoherent. The judge immediately suspended her visitation rights, pending psychological evaluation and compliance with treatment. Ethan's attorney strongly advised pursuing a restraining order. The evidence was substantial: hundreds of threatening messages, stalking behavior, and the visitation incident. But Ethan hesitated. "I don't want to escalate things," he wrote to his attorney. "Diana is still their mother, and I'm hoping she'll get the help she needs." Have you ever hesitated to take protective action against someone because you still cared about them? How many people remain in dangerous situations believing things will improve or fearing what might happen if they take legal steps? It was a decision Ethan wouldn't live to regret. On October 12, 2023, Ethan reserved a private table at Lakeside Restaurant overlooking Maplewood Lake. It was where he and Natalie had shared their first date 18 months earlier. As sunset painted the water in golden hues, he knelt and presented her with a simple solitaire diamond set in his grandmother's restored vintage ring. Natalie made him nervous in the best way, the restaurant manager later told police. He practiced his speech 3 times with me before she arrived. When she said yes, the entire staff cheered. What the happy couple didn't notice was the dark sedan parked across the street. Security footage later revealed Diana sitting motionless in her car for over 2 hours, watching the entire scene unfold through high-powered binoculars. When Natalie accepted the proposal, Diana's car can be seen abruptly leaving the parking lot. Back at home, Ethan's older children had prepared a surprise celebration. 17-year-old Liam and 15-year-old Audrey had decorated the living room with string lights. The younger children had created handmade cards with "Welcome to the Family" messages for Natalie. Gabriel and Theodore had baked a lopsided cake frosted with "Congratulations" in wobbly blue letters. Photos from that evening show a family healing and hopeful. Natalie helping Penelope with her homework. Mason showing off his science project. Violet braiding Natalie's hair while Ethan watched, smiling. As champagne glasses clinked in celebration, a deadly plan was already in motion. Just 2 miles away, Diana was withdrawing $10,000 from her savings account and writing what investigators would later determine was a suicide note, though not for herself. The warning signs were everywhere. Comment below with red flags you've noticed in relationships that others should watch for. Your insight might help someone recognize danger before it turns deadly. At 11:15 p.m. on October 12th, the children had been asleep for over an hour. Natalie had gone home after the celebration, promising to return for breakfast with the family. Ethan, still riding the high of his engagement, remembered he'd left his laptop in the car and headed outside to retrieve it before bed. Security footage from nearby homes captured the sequence with military precision. Diana's car had been parked 3 houses down since 9 p.m., headlights off, engine cold. She'd been waiting for over 2 hours. As Ethan's garage door hummed open, Diana emerged from between parked cars, walking calmly toward the driveway. Ethan noticed her only when she was 5 feet away. The footage shows a brief exchange, lips moving, hands gesturing, lasting approximately 47 seconds. "I heard male and female voices," neighbor Russell Winters later testified. "Not shouting, just talking. Then 4 distinct gunshots. Pop, pop, pause, pop, pop. I ran to my window and saw a woman standing over someone. She wasn't running or panicking, just standing there looking down. That's when I called 911. The medical examiner's report confirmed the deliberate nature of the attack. The first 2 shots hit Ethan in the chest, puncturing his left lung and grazing his heart. As he fell backward onto the concrete, Diana stepped closer and fired twice more, execution style, into his head from point-blank range. By the time first responders arrived 4 minutes later, Diana was sitting calmly on the front steps of Ethan's home. The .38 caliber revolver purchased 2 weeks earlier lay beside her, all chambers empty. Officer Tanya Rodriguez was first on scene. Her body camera recorded the initial exchange. Rodriguez: "Ma'am, I need you to move away from the weapon." Diana: "I don't need it anymore. I'm finished." Rodriguez: "Can you tell me what happened here?" Diana: "He's mine. He's always been mine. Now he won't be anyone else's." Inside the house, 17-year-old Liam had heard the gunshots and ran downstairs. He found his father bleeding out on the driveway and immediately began CPR while on the phone with emergency services. Despite his efforts, Ethan Hargrove was pronounced dead at the scene. As police lights washed the neighborhood in blue and red pulses, shocked neighbors gathered behind yellow crime scene tape, watching as 7 children lost their father to a woman who once promised to love him forever. The murder investigation revealed Diana's actions weren't impulsive. They were methodically planned over weeks. During a standard vehicle search, investigators discovered a magnetic GPS tracking device hidden beneath Ethan's rear bumper. Records showed Diana purchased it 3 weeks before the murder, using it to monitor his movements, particularly his dates with Natalie. "The GPS data told us she'd been tracking him for 19 days, Detective Okoye explained. "She knew exactly when he was at work, with the children, or with Natalie. She could predict his schedule down to the minute." In Diana's car, police found a leather-bound journal containing detailed murder scenarios. One entry, dated just 5 days before the killing, read, "If I time it right, the children will be asleep. They won't have to see. They'll understand someday that I did this for us, to keep our family together." Financial records showed Diana had methodically prepared for both escape and capture. She'd withdrawn $10,000 cash from her savings account, packed essential documents in a go bag found in her trunk, and left a handwritten will at her apartment. The murder weapon itself, a Smith & Wesson .38 revolver, had been purchased legally from Lakeside Firearms 2 weeks prior. The shop owner remembered Diana clearly. She said she needed it for protection as a single mother. She came to the range 3 separate times to practice. Most damning was Diana's internet search history, revealing queries for countries without extradition treaties with U.S. How long does someone survive after being shot in chest? How to make a murder look like self-defense? Will my children forgive me for killing their father? How many warning signs do we miss every day in the people around us? What would you do if you saw someone you know searching for information like this? Diana Lindstrom's 7-day trial shocked even seasoned legal observers. Rejecting a plea deal, she maintained throughout that she had acted out of maternal protection, claiming irrationally that Natalie planned to erase her from her children's lives. "The defendant shows no remorse," noted prosecutor Kevin Mitchell. "Her defense relies on a distorted reality where murdering her children's father somehow protects those same children." After just 2 days of deliberation, the jury found Diana guilty on all charges. Judge Amara Powell delivered a powerful sentencing statement while imposing life without parole. "Ms. Lindstrom, you claimed to act out of love, but true love builds up rather than destroys. Your actions showed exceptional cruelty and callous disregard for the very children you claim to be protecting. They will grow up without both parents because of your refusal to accept that Mr. Hargrove had the right to find happiness." From this tragedy, however, emerged a powerful legacy. Corinne Wilson and Natalie Winters established the Ethan Hargrove Foundation, providing resources for children who have lost parents to domestic violence and advocating for legal reforms to better identify potentially lethal situations. Liam, now in college, speaks regularly at high schools about recognizing unhealthy relationship dynamics, particularly emphasizing that abuse isn't always physical. My father didn't recognize the danger because Diana didn't fit what he thought an abuser looked like, Liam explains in his presentations. The most dangerous moment in an abusive relationship often comes when the victim finally breaks free. That's when control turns deadly. This tragedy might have been prevented if the warning signs had been recognized sooner. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to True Crime Hunter for more stories that could save lives. Sometimes the most important lessons come from the darkest moments.